jump to 1021 if you're one of them for the build tutorial. Hello, it's me, Kamal here again with another video, and today I have a player detector that can detect a player up to 128 blocks away that you can see behind me. And as you can see, right now it's not detecting, but as soon as I get in range, as you can see, it can detect, and then you get quite the trippy effect. As you can see here, just by moving around, you get a different effect on the portal, which is kind of cool. It's a side effect. But as soon as I'm out of distance, it stops. And once you're in, it starts again. And just like that, you can see, you can take a redstone output from anywhere on this. And it's highly customizable, because this here is like for max rate or over engineered. Or you can have like a clean version, like this one over here, for example. Which if I just go, yeah, there we go. As you can see, there's that one. Or you can customize it with the burn rate and have it as a built-in randomizer, or make it so it only checks for a player within the range, like for every second minute or something, or you can set your own timer to it. That being said, there's quite a few cons with this design. I'll mention them here because they're it's something. So as you can see, I have smooth camera on and it's acting silky smooth. I turn it on, and as you can see, it is chugging like a chugboat. It is extremely laggy, especially if you build the biggest version possible and you have multiple of them all in the same area. Additionally, it is very loud as well, that it's hard to even measure the loudness, because in certain cases it can actually break the sound engine of the game. As you can see, there's no sound at all. Well, there might be occasionally once in a while, compared to as you can see, it can break the sound system pretty badly. The last big con is that on some multiplayer servers, they change game rules, including disabling fire tick so people's builds don't burn down, and additionally, if someone modified the allow fire ticks away from player to be away from the default value of false, that there would also break the detector. Now you might be thinking, oh, it just needs to detect fire spread. You can just slap an observer on a fire and call it a day. However, the solution is a bit more complex than that, because you can, put a observer on a fire. Give me a second. And it does send outputs. However, over time, it randomly just stops sending output, like this one here, because even though it is on Netherrack, it still ages, but despite F3 saying it doesn't. So over time, it'll just stop sending outputs, and you might think, oh, I can just check to see whenever it spreads. However, kind of the same problem with this. Yeah, well, I see it does send updates. However, the only problem is it's intermittent and it's random. And additionally, the other downside is if you don't clear it out fast enough, or even just by a couple ticks, you risk the detector breaking itself, which is not good. So I came up with a solution of using a nether portal, because as soon as you try to light it, it instantly breaks the fire and replaces it with a portal block. And you can essentially use a liquid, either a water bucket or even a lava bucket, to essentially break the portal to reset. However, it's a bit more complex than that, because let's say I have this fast clock here going. If I were to light it at the wrong time, just like that, you risk it burning, because if anything is blocking the portal frame, it doesn't actually, like that, there you go, it didn't instantly burn. There's a risk where it's that, and over time it could break the block. So essentially having a fast clock on water is not a acceptable solution. Now you might be thinking, oh, instead of doing a spamming clock, you can just do a detection method. Technically it does work, however there's some problems. As you can see, here's the portal. I break it. As you can see, the observer detects it, and even the butted piston here detects it. However, whenever the portal lights, it doesn't detect it, which is kind of a problem if you want to make it a detection based one. Now you could do something fancy and have a piston essentially zero ticking in, and have it go like this, and then from here you can detect that this server stopped spamming. However, the making a detector from that, it gets pretty big and bulky fairly quick, so this here option was out. Now I'm going to show you the option that actually was in the final design. So it does use water dispensers like before. However, to get around the 4 game tick delay or clock that you can create with using one dispenser, we take advantage of 0 ticks to essentially transfer the water over instantaneously where you can't even see it. So essentially how this works is it takes advantage of the update order within a single tick. So let me just put this back up here. So essentially what happens is when I flick this down, it'll power the bottom line. The repeater updates first, firing the water to be out in the center here, and then the comparator at the bottom here updates after the repeater, which then would pick up the water all in the same tick. So as you can see, when I flip it, you never see the water. And even if you do a tick freeze, for example, and then you just step it by 1, you hear it, it fired, but as you can see, you never saw any water, and then it's right over. So that there essentially allows it to have it so fire can form in the portal on any single tick, and due to the update order, there's a 0% chance of it burning whatever's behind it. So if you really want to, you could actually kind of like use TNT as your flammable block and light it, and it would never catch on fire. Now, another benefit with this design is you can hook it up to a clock, which I'll turn on here. So based on your clock speed, like if you want to set an equal hopper clock and have it only go for every 5 minutes, you can essentially ask it to detect if there was a player in the area in the last 5 minutes, so that there adds flexibility in what you want the detector to do. Another form of flexibility you can do with this single design is what you use to act as the flame source and how much fire you have, because different blocks have different rates for burning. So essentially there's the odds of it catching on fire, which is the top number here, and then there's also the odds of the block getting deleted or consumed from the fire, which is below. So ideally what you want for a detector that detects all the time, you want a high possibility for the block to catch on fire with a low possibility of the block actually getting burned. So that brings it up to this last row here, where the best blocks are hay blocks and carpet blocks. Now if you don't have those, or they're too expensive, since it is 100% burn safe, you can technically use a block. So you can use bamboo or scaffolding. They also have the 60% chance of catching on fire, and also any of the plants. However, you can't really stack them, so the only real item you could use is the big drip leaf. So that being said, if you want to have a completely clean and hidden design, you can essentially have fire be located underneath, because fire can actually spread through blocks. So here you have essentially 2 rows underneath the portal, which can essentially light any of these tall drip leaf on fire, instantly lighting the portal, which then essentially when you turn on this clock here, over here, as you can see, the wire there breaks it, and then it instantly forms, and then just repeats. And then from here, what you can do, I'll just turn off for a sec, is essentially take your output from literally anywhere on any size of your portal, and then from there, congrats, you have an output for your detector, like so. That being said, as you can see, with this setup, it's not 100% consistent, which could actually be another benefit of it, because if you want to minimize it and make it turn it into a randomizer like this here, essentially you can control the odds by, again, influence the number of fire blocks and choosing what blocks to burn of how many and what type. So the hay block here, there's only 1, but it's the highest type. Or if you want it to be like the randomizer to be even slower, you could take like a coal block, which is in the lowest category for actually getting lit on fire, which just happened right there. That there's a possibility, and the output is a lot more randomized. Now if you want to go overkill, you could maximize it fully by building this honking thing here, which is the max portal size of 23 by 23, or the actual portal blocks is a 21 by 21 area. Fill up one side with the flammable block, so either hay block or carpet block for most thing, and then fill up the other side all with fire. You can use Neverac as the block, or you can use the other block that is magma blocks. That there you can also put your fire on without it going out. And again, you can essentially maximize it by having 2 fires underneath. That's mostly because the natural spread size, which is this here, 1 fire block here can essentially light the free below and well, 3 across and 6 up, just offset by 1 down. So essentially applying that to the maximum size here, you can get this. And this here is overkill, but it does guarantee that it does it pretty well every single time. However, you can shrink this down while pretty well not resulting in a loss of detection, which I'm going to show you how to build now. Now, one thing to note is chunk borders, because it is kind of based on chunks, or 8 chunks. If you were to build your detector across chunks, if you were positioned in a certain way where you're only loading half of the detector and not the other half for the 8 chunks, because it still is in simulation and render distance, it just means that the possibility of it detecting is based on how much fire/burn blocks you have in the one chunk compared to the other chunk when you have the detector semi-loaded in range. That being said, I'll show you how to build it all in one chunk for consistency. So I'll go up by 3 and do this. So you can choose your own portal size. I'm just going to do it as a chunk. 1, 2, 3. Go across. So that's our portal, and we can choose any height because the thing here clips on A1. So you can have it on the bottom, you can have it at the top, or you can have it halfway. It doesn't really matter. So just for compactness, though, I'm going to have it part way up. So grab yourself some dispensers. And you essentially want to place them facing into each other, like so. Break these blocks. So essentially what you want to do is place a block underneath each side, and then you want to make a U going around, and then do on the dispenser 2 blocks back. And then here you want to do a line of redstone dust across, and here on top just redstone dust as well. And then from here you want to essentially place a comparator. It doesn't matter what side, you place one, and then on the bottom you place it diagonally. So if I had the comparator on this side, you want the comparator on this side, and then on the other 2 sides you want to use a repeater instead, here and here. And then you can place the redstone block in the middle here with your sticky piston facing downwards, like so. And then from here you can grab yourself the liquid. I'll use loft in this case. You can use the water bucket. Essentially what you want to do is you look at what is currently powered, which is the top here, and you want to put your filled bucket in the one that the comparator is in, and you want to grab a empty bucket and put that into the other dispenser. You only want to put one in there. And then here you can test it by essentially powering this piston here, and you can see if it's transferred across instantaneously without you seeing it. And as that's the case, you can hear it transferring, but you can't see it, so that means you built it right. So from here you can pretty well just hook this up to any clock. A super fast one would break it, but a simple hop clock here would work perfectly fine. So now when we put in an item, any old item, it fires. We'll turn this off for now. So now all you gotta do is essentially put in your burn block. So in this case I'll use hay bales. You can use carpet, it's up to you, or if you want to use something fancy and customized, you can do that as well. And essentially you want to just fill up all the blocks on one side of the portal. So I'll do that here. Do that. And then once you're from there, you just want to put your netherrack or a magma block on the other side and essentially fill it up. So I'm just going to mirror it here just for compactness size. I'm just going to level it, but again, you could do the 2 layers below if you want to get more fire for the same size of portal. And essentially I just do 2 layers. Oh, and you can actually go onto the portal frame itself there to actually get a little more, because these ones here can reach these ones here. And then from here you just get your flint and steel or fire charges and you just light the whole line up, and the portal should form. Yep. And then from here, that's pretty well it, because once you turn this on, you can hear it breaking. Based on that sound, it is pretty reliable. So for an output, you can take it anywhere from the portal on any side. So I'll just take it on this side, and I'll just take it out from here. And there you go. As you can see, the output is a flash, which you might not want. You might want a constant thing. If that's the case, just put it into a pulse extender, and there you go. This simple pulse extender here, as you can see, it's slow enough where it won't fade. But if I were to put a redstone lamp on here and go away from it far enough, it should turn off. Let me grab myself a spyglass. Yeah, it's off. I see it's on. Go away. And it's off. So as you can see, it's very fast to build. If you don't like the rates or something, you just make the portal bigger, or if the size is not right, you could just have a taller portal instead of a wider portal, so you have a fair amount of flexibility to the design of it. That is all. Have a good day.